Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of day it is. Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Dr. Don. For your first-time viewers, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals and about whatever it is that we have decided to talk about. And this evening we'll be talking about black, white, animosities in America. That covers a whole bunch of stuff, but we'll go into that in the second half of the show when I'll be asking my guest, Chris, about some of the questions. And welcome.
Dr. Don.
It's been a while since you've been on.
Yes, it has.
And I got to follow you and beg you to come back on again.
That's not true.
You're so enjoyable.
It's been an interesting process. I've enjoyed it quite a lot.
How are you feeling right now?
I feel great. I feel very good.
Traffic didn't defeat you getting over here?
It didn't defeat me, but it sure as hell beat me up. It reminded me of what they call go-slows in Lagos, Nigeria, but they can last literally for a couple of days. I mean, the traffic just comes to a halt and it stays that way.
That's because of dust?
No, it's because there are a lot of cars on the road and not a very, very expansive or well-coordinated road system. So traffic jams, literally, you can watch yourself grow old in your rearview mirror. Well, that's not exactly.
Chris, you're starting before we even get started here.
All right, go for it.
You always yell at me for going on and on and on.
I'm not going to yell at you.
And I ask you a simple question and
guilty
you
as
go on
charged.
and on and on.
Guilty as charged.
And I love it, and that's why I have you on again.
Guilty as charged. Go for it.
All right, the first half of the show, or 20 minutes or whatever, is what I call the bio segment, where we talk about personal stuff about you, so the viewers will have an idea where you're coming from today, because you might change from time to time, but we'll find out about that. And when and where were you born?
Charleston, West Virginia, 1937.
Why were you born?
Haven't a clue.
Yes, you do.
I have taken advantage of what might be described in some respects as the accident of my birth. It wasn't that my parents weren't planning to have me, but I think I was a bit of a surprise. I think the timing, they would have preferred that I come maybe a little bit later.
You mean after they saw you, it was a surprise?
Well, after they saw me, I think my father went into shock. The amount of cosmetic surgery that was required to repair this. Anyway, I have no idea why I'm here, because you're talking about a philosophical statement.
Of course.
Yeah, right. No, I don't know.
All right.
And don't care.
Anything significant about your racial or cultural heritage worth telling the viewers about?
I'm an African American. Of the light brown persuasion. I don't believe that black should be used as a way of coloring anybody. It doesn't say much about where you're from, and it doesn't generally say anything about what real color you are. It's about how you were raised, where you were raised, and about your life experiences.
You apparently have something other than black in your racial mixture. Then how come you don't mention you're white or red or something other than black or African?
Well, in my ethnic heritage, I could go on and on about that. My dad's from Barbados, and Barbados is a multicultural society. So, as I said in an interview we had before, I said there are a lot of white people in the woodpile somewhere. But the other thing is that there are very few African Americans who don't have European ancestry as well. And there's a good reason for that, but we get into that in the second part of the show.
Okay. Do you have a religious preference?
None. I am unaffiliated. I practice Nichiren Shoshu Buddhism to the point that I chant and I meditate.
How often do you do that?
Daily.
That help?
Doesn't hurt.
I met a guy at the gym the other day, and I noticed him a few times, and something about him.
You interviewed him.
About him.
Right.
No, this is another guy.
Oh, there's another guy?
Another guy, and he was just so peaceful. I've never imagined an aura or something around a human being, but I just sensed him, and I had to talk to him.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to talking to him some more. He's just a terrific human being anyhow. That's another story.
Yeah, right. Because you interviewed a guy whose name actually is named the founder of the sect Nichiren Shoshu Buddhism.
Yeah.
And you interviewed a guy named Nichiren Flowers, I think his last name.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Gautama, his teachings, one of them is, he said, don't proselytize.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you don't have to go out and beat the bushes. You don't have to tell people that they're going to die, die in fire and brimstone and all that stuff. All you have to do is basically follow the principles that you believe in, and people will ask you why. Same question you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this guy so peaceful? Why is he so much at ease with himself? That's a lot better than proselytizing.
Mm-hmm.
Come to the Lord or you will be damned. That kind of stuff.
Why do I spend my time talking to you? Because I don't learn anything ever.
That's true. We don't, actually.
That's a lie.
How much can we learn?
That's right.
No, Don, you don't lie.
Do you believe in a hereafter?
I go to Buddhism again. One of the great Buddha's sayings is, if life is a corridor, then death is a door. I have absolutely no idea what's on the other side of the door, but I'm not afraid to turn the handle and step through. I have no fear of dying.
Yeah.
Because whatever, it's going to be an interesting trip, and there isn't really an alternative. That's why I like that metaphor, about doors and corridors and things.
I'm not going to go behind you when you go through that door.
Why is that? You think there's going to be a backblast of flame and deep smell of brimstone? Don't worry about it. You might be surprised. You might be surprised. You might sniff up and find milk and honey. Or I prefer the Native Americans' happy hunting grounds, where the streams run free and clear, and there's a lot of buffalo, and your wife is beautiful and wonderful and takes good care of you.
Did your education prepare you for what you're giving me right now?
Which part of my education?
Any part. Your formal education, informal, whatever.
My formal education really taught me a lot about myself in terms of my ability to be a good student or a scholar. I left our home when I was about 15 and a half, and I've been to school. The only diploma that I have is from Public School 69 in Jackson Heights, New York. But I have been to Stuyvesant High School in New York, a very fine school. Didn't last too long there. I went to West Virginia State College, what was then City College, which is now CUNY, City University of New York. Mm-hmm. When I was not going to school at West Virginia State, when I got distracted or dropped off or whatever. And I've been to Harvard for graduate study, and but all the rest of it is bumping around, or what I call bumping around, and paying attention to what I read. I love to read, so and what I see, and the people that I meet.
Uh-huh. It's quite an education, huh?
It's been great. It's never ending. Just keeps going on and on. I keep learning things.
Yeah. What did you do to earn a living when you were working? Are you working anymore?
No, I'm not. I'm not drawing any salary. I get Social Security, and it's a little bit less than a half, or a little bit more than a half pension from the United Nations. Mm-hmm. And I spent I spent time in the Army. I spent time with the State Department. The USAID State Department kind of unholy marriage. What else? I've done a lot of, when I was out on the road, I did a lot of jobs, a lot of pick and shovel stuff. But 17 years with the UN.
17 years.
13 years of military and civil service, mm-hmm. Connected to the United States, both international and domestic. And 15 years trying to be a fish farmer in Rwanda.
Uh-huh. I thought you weren't going to mention Rwanda on this show.
Why is that?
That was an important part of your life.
It's part of a big part of my heart is there. My wife is there.
Uh-huh. Have you decided now to fess up to what your IQ is? I've asked you before and you already evaded it.
I honestly don't know. I've been tested right? That's like, sounds like the Big Bang, doesn't it? My mom had me tested. That's, my parents actually did have me tested.
Uh-huh.
Because I got sent home from, I don't know what it was. I wasn't interested. I was like 8 years old or something. They sent me home from school. Said I had an attention deficiency, and they thought I might be, mentally challenged, I think is the politically correct phrase. They just said, we think your son's a retard. And
that was because you were smarter than them and they couldn't
well, that was
handle
what it did. I evidently blew the top out of the charts. But
it shows, Chris.
Well,
it's wonderful.
That's the way I got into college. But I took what was then the precursor to the SATs was called the California College Qualification Test, as I recall. And I was in a pre-college thing up in Michigan after I had come off the road. And my dad and I researched and found, and my mom, and we found a school up in Michigan. I thought it was far enough from New York so that I wouldn't fall back into my old ways. And
what do you mean by that, fall back into your old ways?
Well, there's, you got thugs, and then you got fairly smart hoodlums.
You were the latter?
I was the latter. I was a good organizer and had some leadership potential. And I didn't recognize it until a lot later. And then I realized what I wanted to do in terms of putting limits on my leadership. I'm not interested. I never wanted to be president of the United States.
What are you doing to use your intelligence and your learning and your education to have it be of some benefit to the society and the culture? What are you doing nowadays in your retirement?
What responsibility do I have to contribute to my society after doing so much contributing to my society? I mean, just in civil service, international and domestic, that's 32 years of my almost 80 years of being on the planet. Very few people can boast that kind of a record of service to his community.
Yeah.
Writ large.
But you're wasting...
I'm not wasting anything. I'm using all of those skills to continue to learn. Because I know how to transform a fish station into a fish farm, that I should go around the world transforming fish farms into fish stations into fish farms.
That's twice you mentioned Rwanda.
Yeah, well, it comes up. It's the last long-term experience that I had.
And that made an
It's actually the longest-term experience.
Uh-huh.
Well, no, the UN is actually, that was almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So you got, no, I don't, let's say that the question is, got any more of those background questions you want to ask?
Let me see. And you mentioned your wife, who's from Rwanda.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, and any other people of significance, pets, companions?
Lots. Well, you marry into an African family, and you go from, in my case, nuclear to this great ocean of cousin brothers and cousin sisters and stuff. It's really, really nice experience for somebody who's been a loner most of his life. And but the people who are significant in my closest members of my family, I have 4 kids. I have 3 sons and 1 daughter. Mm-hmm. They range in age from their early 40s to Krista is, I think, 31 or 32 years old. Mm-hmm. She just moved back from Hawaii. She was in Hawaii for 3 years. So she's moved back up near Seattle in Washington State. She's getting ready to get married. Anyway.
You see her ever so often? Or you talk to her ever so often?
I talk to her all the time, and we used to Skype a lot. We haven't done that a lot. But now that she's getting settled in, she just got back a couple of weeks ago. So give those guys a chance to settle in before I mess with them at all. So, and she'd probably come down next month to visit.
Are any of them as bright as you are?
As what?
As bright as you are, as smart as you are, as intelligent as you are.
They are as smart. They are smarter and more intelligent than I am. Most of them. No, all of them.
And your political persuasion, that's a hot question for you nowadays with the presidential election coming up.
It's not particularly hot for me.
Right or center or what?
Well, first of all, I'm unaffiliated. I don't belong to an organized political party, nor do I intend to become a part of it. I registered as a Democrat when I got back to the States in 2011 in order to be able to vote for Barack in 2012. And they won't let me go. I've written them letters and I have said very blunt and straightforward things about this is why I did it, and I am now registered in Oregon, unaffiliated. Please stop sending me your contribution and campaign information. I'll make up my own mind and I'll use my own sources, which are a lot wider than the Democratic National Committee, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But they won't let me go. I'm on the mailing list.
I've got a couple of friends who I've asked who you're going to vote for in November, and they've said, I don't like to tell people what I'm going to vote for.
I don't care.
Who are you going to vote?
I believe in a what do you call it? A private ballot. What do you call it? It has a name. I mean, it's a term.
Secret ballot?
Secret ballot. Thank you very much. That happens.
That's all.
Hey, look. 79? Come on, man. A secret ballot, I believe in that. I think that anybody, I don't care. I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And it's because she is.
I thought you were smarter than that.
No. Well, I don't know why you would say something like that, Don. You know I'm smarter than a lot of things. It has nothing to do with being smart or stupid. It has to do, one of the reasons I'm sitting here is that I come from the major background. My major background comes out of slavery. And we're going to be talking about that. Mm-hmm. And we don't survive, we persevere. There's a big difference. And I told you about I told you in a prior interview, and I'm not going to stretch it out this time. So
I'll bet.
No, I'm voting for Hillary Clinton as the lesser of two evils. Okay, I don't think either of them is the kind of candidate we need. I thought and think that Bernie Sanders would have been one hell of a president, and I would have voted for him in a minute. He didn't make it. And part of the reason he didn't make it was because the system is rigged.
Yeah.
And that rigging is hard as hell to climb through, climb in, even get a good idea what it is.
Well, you got to break through the rigging.
Yeah, but you don't break through the rigging necessarily by not voting for anybody and by voting for somebody who hasn't got a prayer.
For now, for November.
But there's another thing.
How about 4 years, 8 years from now, these kinds of movements, don't let the movement that Bernie Sanders
But that's exactly
start.
my point.
See?
No, but that's exactly my point.
Okay.
What Bernie didn't lose. Bernie didn't lose at all. And no less than Jim Hightower agrees with me.
Jim Hightower?
Wait a minute. The Lowdown. How do I do that?
It's a great publication.
Yeah, right. Fantastic guy. What an amazing Democratic primary season it's been, including this happy result. We won. Mm-hmm. And how did we win? Hillary Clinton was a corporate capitalist Democrat.
Yeah.
Stuck right in the middle of everything.
And you're going to vote for her.
What?
And
that's what she was.
Her.
That's what she was. Did you see what Bernie did to her what he did to that entire campaign?
Did you just get this? I haven't got very speed in mind yet.
Oh, well. But when yours comes, you'll understand. No, basically, Bernie and his movement, us, all of the people that contributed to his campaign, those people that knocked on doors, all of the people that did that stuff, they shoved Hillary Clinton, initially kicking and screaming, further toward the progressive side of the political spectrum.
Do you think she's going to ignore the money and the people who supported her?
I think it depends. You got to get your copy of Lowdown.
All right.
Because he says it succinctly, and I will try to do the same thing. If we piss and moan,
Watch your mouth.
What am I in school?
That's okay.
What does he say? Don't moan, mobilize. Continue what you did. See, Hillary's only going to be as effective as we want her to be if we keep her feet to the fire. And if she wants to be, what is it that a first-term president wants more than anything else in the United States?
To be reelected.
No, what does a first-term president want more than anything else in the world? A second term.
That's what I said, to be reelected.
Oh, to be reelected.
Yeah.
I thought you said be elected. All right. That's what Hillary Clinton wants. She hasn't got a prayer. Okay? If you vote for whoever the other candidate,
Joe Stein, the Green Party.
and a great person, really dynamite.
Then why don't you vote for her, Chris?
Because in my mind, I would rather do everything I can to ensure that somebody who has been pushed left and will respond to the left more than any of the other candidates that I think I could vote for who will be elected. Whoever gets to appoint the next 1, 2, or possibly 3 Supreme Court justices has a chance to change this country for far better or far worse. So that's the long term. Yeah, it's a dilemma. So it doesn't have to be a dilemma. It's a dilemma for you, not for me, because I come from people who persevere. We're going to persevere.
We can pursue this for another 30 minutes, but I'm not going to.
What's next?
What's next is memberships in political, social, or civic organizations. I belong to the ACLU and a few
So do
other
I.
progressive.
Well, so do I.
Oh my gosh! Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. A lot of several environmental organizations and a Common Cause and
good organization.
the Poverty Center and Morris Dees.
Oh
outfit.
yeah, oh yeah,
He's one of my heroes.
oh yeah.
There's a guy I'd like to talk to. I might even go visit him sometime. I don't
I've
know.
been there twice, and each time I missed him. He just left town,
Yeah.
Montgomery, Alabama.
Well,
Okay, let's move on.
he moves around so much; it's hard to catch the guy.
Oh yeah, what a neat man.
Yes. Okay. But in a lot and environmental stuff, defenders of wildlife and stuff like that. Sierra Club.
Persons, yes, yes. Persons from the past or alive today, either one that you admire or admired or look up to. Any names come to mind for you?
Gautama the Buddha. Wynton Marsalis.
Okay, we're in agreement. We got to find something to fight about
Why?
because I'm not serious.
I think that's a pretty good start. I mean, there are a lot of people it would be nice to, but I think if somebody said, who are the 2 people, and no, maybe that's the question you should ask is, which 2 people would you like to talk to? It would shorten the conversation. Because I could sit here all night talking to you about a whole lot of interesting people that I'd met and would like to talk to at length, or met and would like to talk to again, who
And
are
look up to
unfortunately have opened the door.
Well, I figured you might tick off 2, 3, or 4, and not all those people you've met in your travels. Probably a lot of people you've met and admire.
Well, the emotional one is I'd really like to have a chance to talk to my dad again. I miss him a lot.
Why?
Because he was a mentor. He taught me a great deal about being alive, and he taught me at an early age to be my own person, and that has held me in good stead. He was very special. Yeah, I'd like to talk to him. We had good talks, most of them. I mean, they were all good, but some of them were fractious. Let's put it that way. Anyway.
How long ago did he pass?
About 10 years ago, 10, maybe 12 now.
You ever think about him?
All the
dream
time.
About him?
I think about him all the time. One of the great experiences of my life was my son got into a very serious job-related situation, and he was sitting in a room, and he said, when I came back to the States, we would go out, well, I was in New York for a while, and he said to me one time, he said, Dad, I was in this situation. He said, and it suddenly hit me. He said, a voice in my head said, your dad wouldn't put up with this. So I stood up and made a statement, and it turned everything around, turned the whole situation around in his favor and stuff. And it just basically was stuff that my father had taught me. That made me feel good.
Of course.
Yeah, it was cool.
I'd like to linger there longer, but we want to allow
I know.
enough time for the second half of the show.
I know, and you got a clock that you can see it. I can't. All right, go ahead. Shoot for it.
Yeah, let's take a break, Mr. E, pretty early because we're going to get into some good stuff in the second half of the show. right, we're back. Thanks for staying tuned. And for you viewers who missed the opening of the show, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of 1-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals and about whatever it is we've decided to talk about tonight. And we're going to talk about black-white animosities in America. Black-white animosities in America. And that title fits with what's going on considering black-white and those kinds of things in our nation today, around the world and in our nation today, but because we'll get into the questions later on. You ready? First question?
I'm ready.
When did black-white animosities reach a level that seriously interfered with America's stated goal of democracy and social responsibility for all of its citizens? When did that happen?
Well,
When did it reach that level? Yeah.
It's an interesting question because that's the stated purpose, but I don't know if anybody, the founding fathers or anybody else, has ever really thought about it as being a very real thing. Social responsibility, the goal of democracy and social responsibility. This is a republic, first of all, a system that was built that does not give us one man, one vote, but rather put in between all of us an electoral college, which makes it less of a representative government. And so when you talk about when did it start, when did the animosities reach the level?
Yeah.
Wow. How about sometime in the 17th century when slave traders started ripping Africans out of Africa, enslaving them, and transporting them to the Caribbean, South America, and North America?
Didn't some of those Africans benefit from that and find a better life in America?
I don't know. Were you listening to Stephen Foster or who?
Stephen Foster.
A life in slavery. A better life? No, that's not a serious question, is
Of course it isn't.
All right, then let's stick to serious questions. It'll keep it shorter.
Okay.
How could that life have possibly been better? The Middle Passage, the conservative estimates, using the records kept by the best record keepers in the slave trade, the British, who came in as it was beginning to get traction and left when it became too expensive and was falling out of favor, whether it's Wilberforce or anything else. It was primarily economics, all right? And it just was not sustainable. But during that period, they estimate that someplace between, and nobody knows for sure, but 30 to 50 million Africans died in the Middle Passage and in transport to the coast. 50 million died to get a couple of million here. And you talk about, what is it? What's the word? Animosities.
Animosities. Was that the beginning? Has that lived on in
How could it
the
die?
people of color?
How could it die? When the people had their religions, their families, everything that we consider as human beings, consider to be the foundations of community, all of that stuff, systematically and illegitimately ripped away, and the passage of laws that justified it. And to justify all of the actions that the people who were the enslavers, whether they were actually catching slaves, putting them into boats, bringing them to the States or whatever, they said it's because my ancestors were less than human, that they were subhuman. And then when that wasn't working, they said, when the people came and showed that they could be craftsmen and engineers and all of the other things, almost when they hit the ground.
Are black people in this country right now still feeling the effects and still feeling the anger and outrage of what happened to their ancestors way back then?
I think one of the things we can be proud of is that we don't let it cripple us. That we continue to persevere, that we continue to grow and to learn.
I'm not sure about how to talk to you about black and people of color.
Because I'm still angry, and any African American in the United States of America or any place in the world like the United States of America should be angry, should remain angry, but that doesn't mean you discipline yourself and you discipline your anger. And the sad thing is that it's become so badly, the institutionalizing of slavery started when you first enslaved the people. but it continued when you built a structure that contained and confined them. I saw a movie that I hadn't seen in years and years and years. It was I think the first film that Sidney Poitier ever directed, and it was a movie with Henry Poitier and Harry Belafonte. It was called Buck and the Preacher. You remember that movie?
Vaguely.
Vaguely. And you know something? One of the reasons we don't remember those kinds of things is because somehow they get pushed back into the shadows. We got a convention going on in Cleveland, Ohio now.
Yes.
You know what's in Cleveland? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It should be the Rhythm and Blues and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But as far as most of the people in the United States are concerned, rock and roll was when this entire craze, musical craze, swept the country.
Where did it come from?
It was nothing more than doing crossover to make money of music that was created and sustained by African Americans.
So you like referring to yourself as African American rather than black?
Well, I think, you know,
Or does it matter?
well, when people say, "Who are you?" I'm going to tell them I'm an African American. If they want to know what my ethnic background is, etc., the majority of my ethnic background, and the way in which I was raised, and much of the community that I was raised during the formative years, early formative years of my life, because I don't think you really ever get finished forming, right? That's one of the beauties of being human, is African American. I think that a lot of people, you think about Steve Biko and the whole thing in South Africa, you think about trying to get people to turn a negative into a positive. And in the middle of an environment where black was a nasty, dirty, filthy word, and where in the United States it might have been more subtle, but it had the same thing. It was a derogatory term used. And guys like Malcolm and that whole crew, Steve Biko and Nelson and those guys, okay? They said, no, we're going to turn this around. And what's his face? I'm black and I'm proud. Turn it around. We've been doing that. Nigger is an affectionate word in the African American community. May not be now, but in our generation it was.
Yeah.
That's what you call you. Hey, how you doing? You know. But that was within our community, and you made very sure that if there were any white people that you communicated with and were friends with, that they understood that that was a word that they would not use because it could turn us into raging jungle beasts. All right?
Yeah.
But we used it ourselves. The language that we developed, the whole thing about au fait, rather, it's just pig Latin for faux. To talk about white people. Au fait. Remember that?
Yeah.
Of course we remember that. All right. Point
So
I'm
the
trying to make is,
animosities are still deep in black people.
I was talking about Buck and the Preacher, and I apologize, I digress. Buck and the Preacher was about a guy who had been a buffalo soldier. Whether he had been a freedman, was probably a freed slave, okay? But he was basically helping people get away from the plantations after they were, quote unquote, freed. Because there was, and people are not aware of this, you go to Ken Burns and you see a pretty good idea of what happened during the Reconstruction. And it was incredibly brutal. And one of the biggest brutalities were the brutalities visited upon people who were trying to get the hell out of the southeastern part of the United States. Why on earth would they want to stay? And they hired people not only to bring them back, but to hold them there and to make examples of those who were successfully leaving. Got two programs on TV right now, Hell on Wheels, about the Transcontinental Railroad. Interesting show. Gives a very clear indication of the number of ethnicities, African Americans, freedmen, okay, Asians, Caucasians, Irish, immigrants, et cetera, who put that thing together, and the crooks that were manipulating it to get money out of the government. On the same token, you got another program called the American West, and you would think that there were no black people in the American West. Isn't that strange? There were more than 10,000 what they call drovers before they call them cowboys. 10,000 African American drovers, freedmen. You have structures that contained us and confined us and constrained us. And you want to know about animosity.
All right. Was there ever a time in America's history when such animosities were so low as to allow all Americans to live a life of freedom?
No. Next question.
Okay.
No, simply.
What needs to be done to be sure that black Americans will be able to say, free at last, thank God Almighty, I'm free at last? What needs to be done? What needs to be done to do something about police killing black men, murdering?
Well, that's a very straightforward, there's a very straightforward answer to that question.
What?
In essence, it's a straightforward answer too, I hope. The answer to the question should be that they are equal under the law, that police officers are all equal under the law. And that means that when a police officer commits a crime, he goes into a system that is as equitable as it should be. But none of the systems in this country are equitable. You talk about what we should do, God, I keep coming up with, I don't know. Keep on, brother. Keep on struggling.
Does it mean vote for Hillary Clinton, who's likely to carry on that same tradition?
I don't think that Hillary Clinton needs to be carrying on that same tradition. I think that we can apply forces through the kind of movement that Bernie Sanders started and others have been involved in for years, and begin to pressure people. Part of the answer does lie in politics, okay? Part of the process lies in participation.
How about an economic system of governance?
What
Does
does
that
that
have any bearing on
of
the
course it does.
behavior of policemen and police departments?
Well, the whole
I'm
thing is
talking
built
about
on
monopoly capitalism.
Yeah, monopoly
versus
capitalism is the
Bernie Sanders democratic socialism. Or
I
some
think
sort of
democratic socialism is a perfectly good answer, and that might be one of the mechanisms that could be. But how do we get to that? So a sign, a placard, behind the people who are reporting on the thing, talking about socialism is death. And I was wondering, I wonder if that kid that's carrying that sign, if his mother, his father, his grandmother, grandfather, if they collect Social Security. I bet they do.
Mm-hmm.
That's socialism.
Well, how do we get to change the system?
Well, one of the actual ways is to get to participate.
Oh boy, that's a good catch-all. What do you mean by participate?
I mean, get involved in that political system.
How do you get involved? By supporting Hillary? And I'm going to leave that rest for now.
No, I believe that that's part of it.
You got to vote for Joe Stein, the Green Party, man.
I think you got to cool your jets on that one, buddy.
Okay.
Okay, because I have done my research and I have made my decisions, and it's good research, and I think my position is sound.
You like Cornel West?
I like some of the stuff he writes.
Cornel West. He thinks that you should support the Green Party and Joe Stein.
I didn't say he told me what to do, or that I respect him to the point of being blindly ignorant and to the point of following him. I didn't say that. I would not follow Cornel West to the corner drugstore, but he shouldn't feel badly about that. I'm not really a follower, and I confine my leadership to my own path.
That was a generalization that probably cornered you. I'm talking about his view on who to vote for.
Yeah. That's not cornering me. You see me? You think I feel like I'm in a corner?
Yeah, I see you dancing a little bit.
Dancing?
Yeah.
About Cornel West. I like some of the stuff he writes.
Okay.
Could say the same thing about I don't know, a bunch of people, but I wouldn't follow them, and I see the flaws in some of the things that they do.
Sure.
Good. He writes well. So does Frantz Fanon.
Okay, let's see what's next.
And a bunch of other people. Yes.
What needs to be done to be sure that black Americans will be able to say, oh, we just did that, okay? You got me all confused here, Chris.
But that's part of it.
Your mind goes so quick, man, it's hard to keep up with
But
you.
it's part of it.
I love it.
And the other thing is, I'm not a big fan of Gandhi as a man, because there were a lot of things about him that were incredibly autocratic. And you got to read more than one biography, and not somebody who was his PR guy who's writing a biography. But he had his flaws like anybody else. And some of those flaws are the things that made him strong, and said, I'm not putting up with this stuff. But the other thing is, Martin Luther King and his crew doing the same thing. Stop the system where it's really messing with you. Shut it down. And you do that by demonstrating. But I'm not a passive demonstrator. I cannot take an oath. I did it once. I went out on a sit-in. I will never say that I will not be violent again if somebody puts their hands on me. I'm just not built that way, and I don't want to be built that way. Mm-hmm. You put your hands on me at your own risk. Okay? You can hurl all those verbal stones at me that you want, but stay out of my physical space. Uh-huh. Especially if you come in anger. My God, I have no choice. I have to hurt you.
So you demonstrate.
So I'm saying, yeah, stop.
But you do
and
not...
No, but to shut it down. Not just walking down a prescribed route. I'm talking about doing civil disobedience that will get you jailed, that you know will get you jailed.
Any civil disobedience going on nowadays that you would be a part of?
Haven't seen it yet.
Well, it's been all over the news lately about...
Oh, you're talking about Black
police,
Lives Matter and stuff?
And police murdering black men.
But wait a minute. But what is the movement that's passively demonstrating against that to the extent the first thing I saw was when they blocked a part of an interstate in a recent Black Lives Matters. I said, that's good stuff. Now they're getting to it.
I think somehow
got to make it hurt.
They're getting smart enough where they're not having an identifiable leader, because that identifiable leader will be taken out.
Isn't that always the problem? Mm-hmm. Identifiable leaders.
Because
and if you look at the history of identifiable leaders, how often do they get co-opted? We live within a social organism that either co-ops, buys off, or destroys, or drives away to exile, or literally physically destroys people who rise up against it. Uh-huh. And it has become incredibly sophisticated and incredibly efficient. Mm-hmm. And they're going to continue to do it. Malcolm said, or a bunch of people have said, when you know you're a revolutionary when you know that you have really shortened your life expectancy your period of time on this planet, because this machine will gobble you up.
So it's impossible
I
to
didn't say
defeat
it's impossible,
the machine?
but you got to know what the price is.
Uh-huh.
And the guys that get taken out or co-opted or driven away are the leadership.
Iron rusts, things change, and I want to be a part of the change.
Iron rusts and things change.
And you're talking as though this system can't be changed.
No, I'm not. If that's what you're getting from it.
Uh-huh.
It can be changed,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a Herculean task.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
What are you doing to change it?
what have I done or what am I doing?
What are you doing?
Kicking back. You don't like that, and I don't care.
Kicking back, what does that mean?
I'm reading. I'm doing a little bit of writing. I'm going long walks in the woods.
And who are you talking to?
Myself and my children and one or two, maybe a half dozen people that I define as friends in the world, and not very much. And they respect that and understand it.
And you think your thinking and will somehow help them to think more positively and lovingly as you're conveying to them what your beliefs are?
They know what I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I'm doing?
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I'm doing?
Vaguely. I have a sense of what you're doing.
What's the sense you have?
I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking you these questions.
But if you have a sense, then you know.
You're learning, and you're going through walks, and you're thinking and learning and learning. And what you're doing
like a
with
preparation,
that learning,
isn't it?
It's preparation.
Yeah, what am I preparing for? Come on, Doc, lay it on me.
You're preparing.
Give me some good long, deep shrink talk.
You're preparing for, I'm thinking you're preparing for doing what you need to do to have things get better and overthrow the system now
No,
that
that's what
perpetuates slavery in an economic sense nowadays.
That's what you would be doing if you were doing what I'm doing. Now, maybe I'll leave you with that question for you, is to try to figure out if you have any interest in it at all, because there's some people who just aren't interested in what I'm doing.
And you know I'm
I know you are,
terribly
but
interested.
I'm not going to answer that question for you yet, all right?
All right.
But it should be, I would have thought it would be obvious.
I still hear you talking for me in rather vague terms about doing something other than
No, I just said I'm preparing for something.
preparing for something.
So there are things that I'm preparing for.
Mhm.
And given you know more than probably a whole bunch of people do, but not nearly all of the things that I have been through in my life experience to get to this point.
We need many hours for that.
Yeah, we would, but I can't afford your fees, and I'm not interested in it.
No, what I'm doing now is what I'm doing right now.
What is that?
Having my show, interviewing interesting people, and having some fun fights and some controversy.
I don't even think we're fighting. I think we're basically exchanging viewpoints. That's what we're
Well,
doing.
fighting is broad.
Broad term.
Of course, you know what I'm talking
Right,
about.
yeah.
Because I love you, man, whether you like it or not. And I'm also enjoying my existence by studying and learning, continually learning. I've been studying voice now for about two and a half years. And I had a concert last week, you didn't know about it. So I'm getting healthier and growing so that I can impart to people I run into my spiritual growth.
I see that. Yeah.
And something about me, like I told you about that fellow that I met recently at the gym.
Yeah.
There's something about him. And there's a
That was not the guy you interviewed.
there's a meta. No, there's another guy.
Okay.
A brand new guy.
Ah,
So there's something that goes on among human beings who have the wherewithal to be available to communicate on that level.
mm-hmm.
And I'm getting into the area that you're more versed in than I am. And I'm with my daughters and others who want to share that degree of intimacy with, to keep learning from them and to connect, to remove myself from this tendency to become involved with cell phones and electronics.
I hear that.
Okay.
That's
So
interesting.
that's what I'm doing, and if I'm doing something other than that, then you're obliged as my friend to say, Don, what are you doing? You're not following your philosophy, what you think you're about.
Okay.
You see my sign, be kind, even unkind people. That's one of my primary goals right now in my life.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, and it's so rewarding.
Um,
I'm digressing.
no, let's go back. You said I love you.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Most people don't finish the sentence,
Uh-huh.
which in my mind deals with what love is all about. Most people, when they say I love you, they leave it at that. Maybe they don't even complete it in their mind. Most people mean when they say I love you because you make me feel good, is what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And if you take that full statement, all right, it's what makes love probably the most selfish and misunderstood emotion that we have.
Oh boy,
and
do we have a fight now.
Selfish, profound, selfish. If you love someone because they make you feel good, and you're selfish in that, you realize almost immediately that the more you invest in that person, not clinically, not as a capitalist, corporate capitalist, investment, but the more of an investment you make in that person, it's like karma. What goes around comes around, but you comes back with such an incredible intensity and interest.
I'm surprised to hear you offer me that answer, that response, because I'm not going to let what you say define for me what I mean by saying I love you.
I can't. I can only tell you what I define it as.
All right. Well, for me, if I love you, I want to be with you in a way to encourage your health and your growth and your enjoyment and your existence, and not get in the way and interfere with your being.
But you can do that. That's part of the investment that you make in somebody that
love.
you love because they make you feel good. It doesn't have to be diminished and left at the level of the pure tactile and sensory and sensual. Tell with that. There's another one.
Feeling is icing on the cake.
I didn't say icing.
Humans need to connect with each other in a spiritual way.
But that's what interest investment is all about. It has nothing to do with icing on the cake. It has to be something that comes back to you in my experience, in a stronger force, because you're willing to invest in a person.
Do you love me?
No?
I think you do. And you deny it.
I think you would almost have to believe that. And I don't have to believe it. I don't love
Then
everybody.
what's life about?
What?
What is life about other than loving fellow humans?
Who said-
What is life about?
Says who? Life's about a lot of things.
What's the most important thing?
I don't know. Maybe I don't. That's you.
And you know what?
Am I an unkind person because I don't love everybody?
Out in the world, 9 out of 10 people who see this sign on me, the reactions are incredible. From tears to hugs to offering money. That's the effect. And of course that makes me feel good. But that's secondary. That's icing on the cake. And now I'm grinding my axe and we want to hear from you some more. So you don't love me? You liar.
Afraid not.
Okay.
Don't know you well enough. And neither do you know me well enough. Believe me.
Oh, don't tell me. I know. I know. There's few things I know, and I know what it's like to love some fellow human being.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
And to live lovingly.
You think I don't know what it is to love human beings, some human beings, and deeply and sincerely and whatever?
Why are you running away from it? Let me stop.
I'm not running away from
We're
anything.
running out of time.
Okay, before we completely run out of it,
Yes, sir.
I want to make a small correction. The I love you thing is one of the things that does a job on me because I don't think many people really investigate what they mean or what they're actually saying. Okay.
Absolutely.
The other one
true.
is people misquote the thing about you had a show with a very interesting guy, Turner.
Vern Turner?
Vern Turner,
He's
very
a
interesting
delight.
man.
Very.
And the title of the show is "The Root of All Evil."
Yeah.
But that's not the full quote. The full quote is "The love of money is the root of all evil," and that is so much more true than just simply that there is a root of all evil. You got to really bring it home, and you are an advocate for overthrowing corporate capitalism. When you talk about it, when you talk about the root of all evil, that is truly, even in the New Testament, even in a fairly modern book, that's ancient for us. Okay, I just want to do that. What's next?
You wore me out.
I don't think so. I think you are, I don't know how to pronounce this word, indefatigable.
Yeah.
How's that pronounced? Indefatigable, something like that.
And I wasn't very good with English anyhow. But anyhow, let's see what we can...
You got any more questions on your list?
No, we ran out of time anyhow.
We always do.
What are we going to do about the police nowadays killing so many black people?
Well,
Just take for a minute for that, please.
Pardon?
I want to take a minute to respond to that.
Very
because we
quickly.
gotta close.
What we're seeing now is one of the options is to rebel against it by protesting against it and trying to litigate against it and doing all of that stuff. And that's and staying with it, persevering, not just surviving. Surviving means standing there, a guy whips you, and that's it. And the second thing, unfortunately, is exactly what's happening with these young men who become unhinged, who really who put themselves in the hands of their oppressors by blowing policemen away. Okay? And the policemen, the rotten apples in that barrel are a small but significant percentage.
Chris.
And you don't get anywhere by killing like that.
We've gotten to this point again where we got to stop because my director's going to yell at me anyhow. But look at that camera and tell the viewers what final thought. That one right there.
That one right there?
Yeah.
Tell
the viewers what you want them to know. That's important to tell them right now, from the top of your head or whatever.
I think everybody should think very seriously about this next election of the President of the United States. And I think that you should think of it in practical terms and try to be as control as much the emotional and visceral, and understand that pragmatically we have not only an opportunity, we have an existential requirement to see to it that nobody like Donald Trump ever gets closer than his building down the street from the White House. He should never become the president of the United States. It's the open door to fascism. And that means that every vote counts. You notice I didn't say who you vote for. Just vote.
I did notice. Thank you very much for coming on again. You're an absolute delight.
It's a pleasure.
And think about what I mean by love, what I mean by love.
I certainly will. I think about what everybody
and you
says
will
about
not
that.
deny me the right to say that I love you.
I'm not
and I will live that
Hey,
philosophy.
I didn't say that. You asked me. What did you ask me?
PSA anymore. To watch my shows on the web, Google, Don Baham, YouTube, and anymore. We're gonna have to stop right now. The ACLU. I think you'll like that one.
Yeah.
The American Civil Liberties Union. I've been a member of that for years and years. Go to that site and learn more about the ACLU. We need it. And thanks for watching. Remember KFC. Don't forget KFC. Not that KFC. Not Kentucky Fried Chicken. Dr. Don's KFC. Kind, friendly, and charitable. Be kind. Be friendly and be charitable to you too. And you too, Mike. And you too. Again, thanks so much.
Hey, no, my pleasure. My pleasure. And
Good night.